why did I, you would think by now I would have my intros all together. I really don't. I do them different every time and I fuck it up every time. So I get that cash and I flip it, yeah. I get that cash and I flip it. So hey to all of my cherry bombs, I'm on a roll today. I'm about to knock out a couple videos for you guys. I actually was going to wait and do the how I feel about New York, how to find affordable housing in New York, or affordable apartments in New York, and like a update on everything as far as like living here and stuff. But because my room is not all the way together yet, like I wanted to do the finding apartments in New York and updates and stuff when my room was together, so I could just make it an apartment tour and stuff. And maybe I still will, like maybe I'll record this but then show you guys my completed room at the end, because originally I wanted to record it, you know how people do all cutesy, like sitting on their bed after their room is already decorated and stuff. But my room is not decorated yet and I just want to go ahead and knock this out. So if I'm new face to you guys, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Please turn on your notifications because I'm very sporadic with how I post. And then give this video a thumbs up so that more people can find my content. That would be awesome, because I am on the road to not only hit 20K very soon, but then I want to hit 100K in the next year. All my social media is linked in the description box below, so go ahead and check that out. So as far as finding places to live in New York, you guys, I put this in my last, I don't know if it was in my vlog for moving to New York, or because I literally have like 3 different videos on moving up here. One is my experience moving up here, like actually like the ride up here and stuff. It was freaking crazy. Another video afterwards is my first apartment. I showed that, and then I think in that one I touched on like how I found the housing that I'm in now and all that stuff. And then the third one, I can't remember what all was in the third one, but I literally have 3 very informative videos about moving to New York and the whole process, the cost, all that stuff. But people have been asking me for not only an update, but then people have been asking me for how do you find, like when you're going from apartment to apartment, how are you finding these apartments? So let me tell you guys, this is not a sponsored video at all. Honestly, at this point they should sponsor me, so maybe I need to email them before I even release this and tell them they need to sponsor me and then release this. But anyway, the thing that I use to find all my apartments up here is a group on Facebook. It is called Gypsy Housing. Y'all, when I say Facebook is your best friend when it comes to bigger cities, like I know that a lot of people are like, oh, I don't use Facebook anymore. Literally, Facebook has so much when it comes to finding jobs, finding houses, stuff on sale, like everything. Like Facebook is the plug, high key. Even if you don't like, because I don't use Facebook on like from a social media standpoint. Like I don't get on Facebook a lot and update my statuses and stuff. I don't post pictures to Facebook a lot. Like Facebook is something I really just use when I need like jobs or housing or something like that. And so when you go on Gypsy Housing, so you have to answer some questions, and then the admins will like approve your answers or whatever. Literally, like you'll always get approved as long as you answer the questions. If you don't answer the questions, they won't approve you, and you'll be sitting there wondering why you haven't been accepted to the group, and it's because you haven't answered the questions. So I think it's like, I can't remember what it was because I did this so long ago, like literally way before I was actually planning to move here. I had already joined Gypsy Housing just like as a motivator, as a like, oh, one day I'm gonna move to New York. So I think the questions were something like, oh, do you promise not to do like self-promotion on this in this group, or do you promise to, are you looking for housing, or are you selling housing, or something. It was like stuff like that. So it's like 3 questions, you answer them, boom. So once you get onto Gypsy Housings, like once you can actually see the forum, the group, whatever, you literally are met with endless possibilities, honestly, because you get to decide your price range. Because I mean, it's not like they actually have like, you know how when you're shopping and stuff, you can actually put a filter on prices and stuff like that. Gypsy Housing isn't like that, but literally you can go through each post and you can see like they'll literally list on the post, they'll say how much is the rent. Or let me explain what the good ones look like. So the good posts, the ones that I feel like are more trustworthy, and the ones that I look at are the ones that include, how much is your rent? How much is your rent after utilities? Or how much are utilities? Where are you located? What are your roommates like? What else do I look for? What are y'all looking for in a roommate? Even if it's more brief, because once you actually meet them, you'll discuss that more. But even if it's like briefly, like, hey, this is our living style, this is what we're comfortable with, this is what we're not comfortable with. Like, I like the post that lists all that too. What are some other big things? If it has a washer and dryer and unit, which if you get that in New York, you're pretty lucky and you're probably paying more. But honestly, not even all the time. Sometimes you can pay the same price. And literally, New York is finessable. I can't explain that enough. Like, I can't stress that enough. New York is so finessable, and people have this idea that New York is so crazy expensive. And New York is very expensive, but it's also very finessable. So look for a wash and dryer, in unit, whatever. Does it have an elevator? Is it a walk-up? What else? How many roommates do you have? How many roommates are you gonna have? What's the duration of the time that this room is available? Are you looking for somebody to sign on to the lease? Or are you just subleasing this room out for a couple of months? Those are all things that I look for when I'm looking at a post. My personal budget was $700 to $850. I did not want to go above $850, and $850 was including utilities. I did not want to go above $850. For me personally, I know a lot of people are, oh, well, they're willing to pay $1,000 and up. That's totally cool. But for me, being new to the city, not having a job at the time that I moved up here, not really having anything secure enough to promise that I would be able to pay that much, I didn't want to lock myself into an apartment that was going to be $1,000 or that was going to be $1,200, and that's $1,200 including your transportation, because transportation is going to cost, if you get a Metro Pass for 7 days, it is $34. If you also have to buy the Metro card, if you already have a Metro card, it's $33. If you get the month long, it's like $121. Groceries out here, New York does not have regular grocery stores, so all the grocery stores cost more. Everything costs more. So they don't have like your Aldi's where you can get things for the cheap. They don't have your Walmart where you can get things for the cheap. So yeah, so my thing was just, after you take everything into consideration, you're by default going to have to catch Ubers every now and then, sometimes way more often than you planned, just because transportation up here can get crazy. By default, you're just going to have to, unless you bring your car, there are going to be means of transportation you have to pay for, plus groceries, plus whatever else. So I just didn't want all my bills to add up to the point where then I'm looking at, dang, like I pay $1,500 in bills, but I only make $2,000 a month or something like that. I like to make at least 3 times my rent. Right now my rent is $625 my new place. So I used to stay in Bed-Stuy, now I stay in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. So my rent now is so cheap, which is awesome for New York. My crib is huge. It's so nice. I have mad stores on my block. Like, I'm by anything you could ever think of needing, I'm by. And yeah, I mean, my commute into the city is longer, but I'm also closer to the train than I was at my first apartment. My first apartment, I was a 15-minute walk to the train. Oh, that's another thing. So when you're on Gypsy housing, a lot of them will tell you how far or how close it is to the train. I look for that too. So I always look for how long is my commute going to be, how close are you to the train, all that stuff. So yeah, so my personal budget was pretty low because I knew that it was doable, and I knew that that's what I wanted to pay, and I also know that I'm okay with having roommates. Now, a lot of people, when they ask me, oh my God, how do you find something so low? How do you find something so low? From the way people are asking me, I can tell that they're thinking that, oh my God, you found something that low and it's a 1-bedroom. Baby, you will never find a 1-bedroom that low unless you literally live in Bumblefuck. Like, and I mean like in the boonies, in the country, somewhere in the South probably. Even in Charlotte, North Carolina, you're not finding a 1-bedroom for $600. There's no way, it's unheard of. In Charlotte, I would say average for a 1-bedroom, you're either paying $850 to like $850 and up. So yeah, when people ask me and they're like, oh, you know, do you live by yourself? I'm like, girl, you knew when I said 606, I don't live by myself. But then you got a lot of people who are moving, but they're not willing to do the roommate thing, which is to each their own. Everybody has their own preference. So if you are not willing to do the roommate thing and you don't want roommates, you are going to pay more. I pay less because I'm willing to have roommates, and I knew what my budget was. And I know that I don't want to be up here struggling to make ends meet because I wanted to live somewhere in the city and couldn't afford to live in the city. So that's just my thing. Once you find a place that you're interested in on Gypsy Housing, you message them. There are several other people messaging them too, especially if the deal is really good. So keep that in mind. They're probably not going to get to you right away. But when I would message people, I normally heard back from them within like 3 days to a week, and then we would set up a meeting. And so what I would do when I messaged them, I would tell them straight up. I would say, I had a whole introduction, like actually I will post, or do I want to post my message? Because I might need it again, and then if everybody's using it, we can't all use the same one, because then they're gonna be like, they some scammers, they're gonna think we scamming. But anyway, so basically in my message, I would just introduce myself. I would tell them how old I was, where I was from, what my occupation is, what I'm looking for. I would tell them that I have first month's insecurity available to pay upon us agreeing on the fact that we were a good fit. And I would tell them what date I was looking to move in, and what else? Oh, and then, I would just tell them, and then I would also say that I was willing to provide my social medias as well if they needed my social media. So the reason that I would tell them, like, oh, I can provide first month's insecurity is so that up front, I am not trying to pay 3 months rent to move in. I'm not. I purposely avoided places where you need to pay 3 months rent to move in, because that's OD. Like, what? Why am I paying you $2,000 to freaking up to move into a place? Or $1,800 and up, which is $1,800. I'm rounding up, baby. Anything over 15 and over, you want $2,000, and I'm not here for it. So unless it was like some of the stuff, like when I was looking at stuff that was like $750 or $800, then okay, you're paying 16, but that's more reasonable because you're still paying too much rent. There's no reason why I should be paying 18 and up for a place that's less than 800 or something, because you want 3 months rent, you want all this money up front. I personally am not with that, so I would always say I can offer first month's plus security to move in, because that already lets you know what I'm offering you. And if you have a place where you want 3 months rent, I'm probably not the candidate for you. And then I would also, they tell you that in the descriptions too. So in the descriptions, they will tell you first and last month's rent to move in, first month's plus security to move in, first, last month's and security to move in. The post should say all of these things. All the things I'm listing are things that you need to look for when you're looking at these posts on Gypsy Housing. So once I hit them up and everything was organized or whatever, go meet people, see if you're a good fit, and then you really just wait to hear back from them. So another thing that I will say, another thing to keep in mind is in New York, in order to actually get on a lease, they do ask for a lot of shit, honestly. So I purposely, because I knew that I was not trying to, I knew I wanted to get this place on my own. So I didn't want to do any type of guarantor situation. I didn't want to do anything where they were doing super crazy credit checks, or preferably no credit check, period. I more so look for the things where they just want to know that you have a job and you have the money to move in. Those are the type of places I look for. So when I'm scrolling through Gypsy Housing, if I see stuff and it's like, oh, your credit score has to be 670 and up, and you need to provide proof of income, and you need to make 40 times the rent, and you need to have a guarantor, or this, that, and when they're asking for all this extra, like super being OD about it, those are the ones that I skip, because I knew personally my credit is super average, like literally average as hell. I do not have no 670. I don't make 40 times the rent at probably most places here. So just keep that in mind when you are looking for places. Look for places that fit you. Respond to the places that fit you. My other thing that I would say is, in New York, things go so fast when it comes to finding places that it's not one of those where it's like you need to start looking a month out. You need to be looking, like, literally, I found the place that I'm in now, I found it a week before I was supposed to move out. My last place, I found it a week before I was leaving to come to New York. Like, now granted, I didn't wait until that week to start looking. I started looking like 3 weeks in advance, but things were going so quick, and people want to know that, once you hit them up, they're like, hey, are you ready to move in this week? Basically, 9 times out of 10, they're like, when can you move in? And if you start looking really far ahead and you're not ready to move in yet, people won't take that serious. They'll go with other candidates that are you know, ready, money is in hand, they're ready to move their stuff in ASAP. That's who they go with. So I would say at least give yourself 3 weeks. Honestly, you'll probably find something within a week or a week and a half, because things go so quick here. And just make sure that your approach is very personable. Do not hit them up just, is it still available, I would like to move in. They're not going to respond. Don't hit them up and say, oh, I'm interested in your place. Okay, and hello, hi, how are you, who are you, like, what are you looking for, what type of things do you look for in a roommate, what do you like to do as a hobby? Like, you have to be personable when you approach people. It's like a job interview. You wouldn't go into a job interview like, oh, hire me, I need a job. You would say, oh, hey, like, they're gonna ask you, you know, what do you like to do, what kind of things are you into, like, we want to get to know you, that's why you're here. So it's the same when you're doing gypsy housing or any type of thing like that, because these people want to get to know you. They want to know that you're going to be reliable. They want to know that you're going to get along, and they're not going to have some crazy roommate story afterwards, which is completely understandable. And yeah, so all in all, you guys, that's how I've been able to find housing in New York. I hope this was very helpful for you guys. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, follow my social media in the links down below, and I will see you guys in my next video.